So I think the first thing with any digital strategy is that it's really got to have a link to a strategy. I think the challenging thing with digital strategy is that people think it can sit in silo. So if your digital strategy doesn't necessarily have a link to what your business objectives are, what your behavioural objectives are, it's not a strategy. So I think unless there's a very clear objective that is a clear link to your business, a clear link to the behavioural pieces you're trying to cause, it's not a strategy. So that was the first thing. Second thing is, with digital now, because it is so fragmented, we've got to have a very clear understanding of the customer, where they're spending their time. Even if you can do a very basic customer journey without the help of, say, a media agency, that's going to get you a little bit closer. So I think a really clear understanding of what the customer's doing, where they're spending time, is the second piece. And then I suppose the third one would be measurement. So there's obviously a huge conversation around digital measurement, but I think we have let digital metrics be about numbers. So we've let them be about big numbers. So, big reach numbers, likes, all that kind of thing. But if you were to look at, I suppose, a higher level strategy as such, they will have, links back to ROI. And I think digital is now at a stage where we've got to be at that table. So we've got to have that kind of measurement. So, kind of build it up. Look at, the campaign effect, look at the behavioural effect, and look at the business effect. So have metrics for your digital strategy in each. I think one of the, there's two for us. I'm part of a full service agency in Dublin called Boys and Girls, and I think the challenge we have a lot of the time is budget. So we're in a small market of 4 million people. Our clients, are under pressure to deliver against their objectives. And when it comes to creative ideas, they look at budget split and kind of go, where can I get the best bang for my buck? And they're in most cases they're traditional marketers, so they may lean on the more traditional channels like TV, etc. Whereas we've got a bigger job to prove that their customers are spending time in digital, and we find that kind of split of budget and convincing them that digital is the right place to spend money can be a challenge. The second big challenge for us is around quality versus quantity. So our clients who are really engaged in social marketing, for example, are under pressure to deliver quite a high volume of content. So they become sort of more focused on getting quantity out. So filling buckets. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on YouTube. They become really obsessed with volume. So it's the quantity versus quality conversation that we have to have, where it's the budget that you do have may be better spent on 2 or 3 pieces of quality content that show that we fully understand the customer, that has the right insight behind it, and use the media money that we have to pull behind 3 pieces of content rather than 14, for example. So that's probably the big challenge. I suppose from Cannes for the last few days, I think I was at the mobile jurors yesterday. It was really interesting to hear how they were talking about some of the big winners this year. I think the most impressive one I've seen this year is a piece from Brazil around the upcoming election called "The Colour of Corruption." And it used a base database of information on corrupt politicians, who they were, what they look like, their age, where they live, and then all the stuff that they've done, all the awful corrupt shit that they've done. And they basically used facial recognition technology, and they assigned a face to each of these guys, and pulled all of that data into an app. And you could basically point that app at your TV, online, and it blocked the guy's face out in kind of an orange colour if they were corrupt. So as a voter, you could actually use the app to see which of your politicians were actually telling the truth, which of your politicians were actually trustworthy. Something that's wildly useful, and that application of technology is really, really interesting. We've been talking about how you could actually take that kind of facial recognition technology into the world of dating, for example. There seems like there's so many opportunities for that. And I think with a lot of the digital work that's coming out in Cannes, that's kind of been the clear message around stop spending your time trying to innovate and innovate with the application of the technology, because that's where it's of most value to customers. It might be a little controversial because I'm a digital strategist, but anytime I start in a brief, anytime I start in a piece of work, like, I leave my desk. Like, I think with digital, because there is so much information, because there are so many different places to actually start and get information from, as I was kind of saying earlier, like, if you go back to the customer, that's the best place to start. So go outside, like, go to wherever you think your customer is, watch how they're actually engaging, watch how they're using their phone. If you can get into people's houses, watch how they're using the technology. I think unless you understand the customer, you're never going to be able to get the results that you're trying to plan.